everyone, and good morning. We are here back with another episode of Let's Talk Real. Today is a very special episode because we have our partner here, Lesley from Penn Charter Abstract. How are you doing, Lesley?
Hello. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Very good too. Thank you so much for being here. I know you've been traveling and you've been busy, so thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely.
And how are you, Kelly?
I'm great. It's Monday.
It's Monday.
Christmas week.
It is Monday.
And it's Monday of Christmas week. Exactly. This is exciting. We're all festive
Yay.
today.
Super I'm not festive, but you ladies look amazing.
We made it festive enough. That way you can, chime in.
Yes.
So today we're going to be talking about title company services when you're buying a house, and Lesley's going to be breaking it down, all the uncertainties, all the unknowns and curiosities that you guys may have. So if you do have questions about it, please feel free to chime in and ask your questions here. But first, we do have a quick recap from last episode from Kelly. Take it away.
Yep. So good morning, everybody. Just last week, we talked about closing costs in general, and there are 4 types. We have your origination charges, third-party charges, title and settlement charges, which is what Lesley's going to go over today. And we also have prepaids and escrow. And if anybody has any questions on them, they can reach out to us. Our contact information is going across the bottom, but it's all you, Lesley.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So I guess we can start with our myth of the day, and I think that's going to give us a pretty good insight getting into today's topic. A lot of people think that title insurance is not a requirement, that is an option, but in fact, that's not true, right, Lesley? So you can kind of give us some more insight into that myth.
Yeah, that is correct. Title insurance is actually required. And I'll clarify that in that lender's title insurance. There's two sections of title insurance whenever you go to purchase a home. The first section would be the lender's title insurance, and that is definitely required. Anytime you get a mortgage on a property, your lender will require title insurance as well as specific endorsements. And that is to completely protect them from anything that would happen in regards to your home if you're not able to pay your mortgage, etc. The lender's title insurance is to protect the lender. However, there is another section of title insurance, which is the owner's title insurance, and that is actually not required. It is highly, highly recommended, but it is not necessarily required. And the owner's title insurance protects you from the loan amounts that you get from your mortgage company up to the purchase price of your home. And so it would cover, and then actually an additional 10% on top of that over the next 5 years. So as your home appreciates, it'll protect you up to 10% over the purchase price from whenever you originally purchased your home. So that is not necessarily required. That is optional in the state of Pennsylvania, but it is highly, highly recommended.
Awesome. Well, that's good. I think I learned something new today. I didn't know about 10%. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I get that question a lot. Especially whenever somebody goes to refinance their home. And this is, again, a whole nother thing. Whenever you go to refinance your home, you do have to get lender's title insurance again. So every time you refinance for a lower interest rate or to consolidate debt or for whatever that reason is, you will have to purchase lender's title insurance again. However, some people are starting to, because homes are appreciating so much, they're starting to purchase an additional owner's policy at the time of refinance because their home has appreciated so much since they purchased it that they want the additional coverage once again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
That's good. So when we are purchasing a home, the title company actually plays a very important role because different states deal with the purchase process differently. In Pennsylvania, we don't necessarily need a lawyer. That's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. We mostly use title companies. So the title companies are the ones taking care of the entire buying process, basically vetting the property and the buyers and sellers in the back end preparing the property for sale. And they're the ones that actually are the closing officers for the settlement date. So maybe, Lesley, would you mind giving us a kind of like a breakdown of what you do from the time a property goes under contract to the point that we are closing, things that you're looking for in order to prepare that property for sale?
Yeah. So whenever you go to purchase a home, your realtor, Nini in this situation, would write up the contract for you. And once both parties, the seller and the buyer, agree upon the terms of the contract, everyone signs it. And then she immediately sends that to me as the title insurance. So basically what I do is I do a search on that specific property on the Recorder of Deeds office, the Prothonotari's office, just anywhere to basically find out if there's any liens against that property, if there's any judgments against that property. And also I'm looking for the boundary lines of that property, so that you know exactly what piece of land that you're purchasing with your home. I also, because that's important. You need to know exactly what your boundary lines are, as well as if there's any easements on your property. Like if PPL has automatic access to your property, or if you're in an HOA, if the HOA has automatic access to your property, or, basically anything, absolutely anything that you would think of that would come up in regards to a property, I'm searching for it. And that way, whenever you go to buy your property, you know exactly what you're buying, but you also know that property is coming with absolutely nothing attached to it from any previous owners. And we do searches up to 200 years.
Wow.
Which is
I didn't know that. Holy cow.
So we search 200 years back to make sure that there is nothing outstanding that far back. And then we clean it up for you. Awesome. And when I say clean it up, we make sure that every mortgage is paid off, every judgment is paid off, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that this kind of issues that rise from title and insurance searches can be resolved with just writing a check, and that's not really the case, right?
No.
Like an example of different things that could happen that you might have to be doing in order to prepare that property.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many.
So many, sorry. Broad question.
I know, right?
Pick one that is maybe like the most common that happens that you might have to deal with.
Yeah.
That is not just a matter of writing a check.
Yeah. Obviously, when it comes to I would say 98% of people have mortgages on the property. And so that's something that I have to clean up for the sellers. And all of that, so the sales price is, let's say, $500,000. And so the seller, obviously has to, out of their proceeds from the sale of the house, will have to pay off their mortgage. And then the next one would be judgments. Let's say the sellers of the home that you're purchasing got into some tax trouble 4 years ago that they've been making payments on. Again, that's something that I would have to clean up and take that out of the seller's proceeds as well. Right now I'm dealing with somebody got into some forgery trouble. And so there was a judgment from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in regards to forgery. So that, again, that's something unique that I've never ran into, that I have to clean up to make sure that the title to the home that you're buying is absolutely free and clear.
Correct. Yeah.
And every property is absolutely unique. I just dealt with a property that I had to record an additional, basically it was an airspace. So they basically own the airspace over their property as part of the HOA. And that protects up to a certain number of feet above their property that nobody can fly anything over their property. So no one can fly drones over their property to take pictures of them. It's those little things that, like,
I could see that becoming more and more of a thing in the future.
And that was one of your files, Nini.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was the Weimer file. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I had to record an airspace document in regards to that one.
Pretty interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that was a fun one for me. I worked with my underwriter on it. He said, he's been a real estate attorney for 32 years or something, and he's like, I've only ran into this ever once in my entire career.
Wow.
This may be your one time. Like, it's not fair.
The one.
Yeah. So
seriously, I think that might be happening more and more now because all the drone technology that might become more of a thing.
Yeah, I can foresee that being as more developments go up, that the HOAs start implementing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we ran into issues as of like determining property lines and having to get surveys. So you can tell us a little bit more about the survey and how that works and why do we do it?
Yeah. So again, that's something that a lender, for the lender's title insurance, they do a survey endorsement that basically says that if anything comes up in regards to the survey, that they're not on the hook for it. And so what you could do as for your owner's title insurance policy is you could get a survey, and then the survey endorsement so then a survey endorsement on the owner's policy basically says, we have a survey and you as my title insurance company is guaranteeing me that according to this survey, that anything that comes up in regards to boundary lines in the future, you will cover as title insurance. But if you don't purchase that endorsement on your owner's policy, then I'm not on the hook as your title insurance person to cover that in the future. So surveys are important. I will tell you, in my career, only one person has got a survey prior to settlement, which just kind of blows my mind that they're just
interesting,
basically saying that we're trusting the last 200 years of surveys that they're accurate,
I know in my career, and I have not been that as long as some other people, but I've only done 2 surveys, and that's because we had to. So it wasn't like, it's an option, because it is an expense that most buyers don't want to take, right?
It is true. They are very expensive. They
are not cheap. I know they can range dramatically depending on the size of the property, but you can always expect to be between 1,000 to 3,000 depending on what needs to be done, how big the property line is. So yes, a lot of people don't want to take over that additional expense, but like you said, it's interesting that that's something that is really important, but it's not necessarily something that people want to take on if it's not needed. So you do play a big role on when it comes down to the whole process really, but when it comes down to the closing time, can you go over the details of what you do to prepare for closing and closing itself?
I guess I didn't. I guess I kind of stopped on the whole process.
We got. Go for it.
So basically, whenever there's an agreement of sale, obviously I order the search and make sure that everything is cleaned up in regards to title. Once that is all cleaned up, taken care of, then from my side, we're clear to close. And I will work with your lender to make sure that we can get it to closing at that point from their side as well. And so I will work with them on the numbers, making sure that all of the numbers on your closing disclosure are accurate. And then from there, they send us your documents, your loan documents. We print them out, and then we take you to settlement. And then you'll meet with me, your realtor, possibly your lender. In this case, Kelly comes to all of her closings, which I think is amazing as a lender.
Unless I can't make it, I will be there.
Absolutely. And we will all meet with you on the day of your settlement, go over any last minute questions you have, explain all of the documents that you're signing. And then from there, I'm responsible to record the new deed that takes it from the sellers to your name. So we'll record it the same day. And then the house is yours.
There you go. Congratulations.
Once we get past that initial, search and cleaning up, it's pretty straightforward from there. So, as the settlement.
The hiccups that we see mostly come from the landing side and between the buyer and the lender. So not that it's the lender's fault, but usually the delays or the more timing on the process itself, it's because of the lending side takes longer. We have a
Yeah.
appraisal that has to go through, underwriting that has to be approved before that financing can be issued to the buyer. So as soon as everything is clear on title, that's when we can kind of close once we pass the financing portion.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that it's good to point it out to is the scam that happens very frequently after a buyer purchases a house, right? So about the deed portion,
Sorry, can you repeat that?
the deed scam that happens.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring some attention to that because I know that happens quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So whenever I record a new deed, there will be, oh my gosh, an ungodly amount of mail that you will get that is all scam.
Yes.
And I always tell borrowers at settlement exactly what to look for from me, because I will send you your original deed, your original recorded deed. Anything else that comes, pay us $3 and we'll send you a copy of your deed, or call this number, or whatever it is. It's just unbelievable. It's just people looking to get money off of these situations. But to educate you, deeds are recorded instruments and they are free online in Lancaster County. Not every county is free. Sometimes you have to pay a fee to get your deed online, but in Lancaster County, they're free, and they're always accessible. Especially if you ever lose your deed, just go back to your title insurance agent and they will be able to pull it for you and send it to you for free.
Exactly. That's a huge one, because I know the scams are getting more and more creative and they make it look so official. They will be kind of like very alarming. Final notice, pay. I think now it's like 109. I think that's the new rate.
It'll say too, like if you close with Sierra, it'll say your mortgage with Sierra Pacific, but at the bottom it'll say somewhere in small print, not affiliated.
Yes.
Sierra Pacific.
Or information provided by or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I always tell people to look for my yellow envelope with my address on it. That's the only one that you need.
Yeah, exactly. Never pay for deed, people. Never pay for deed.
Don't pay for it.
You can go directly to the township, and if they charge you there, that's a different story, but it's usually very inexpensive.
Very inexpensive.
You. Or like Lesley said, you can just reach out directly to the title company and request a copy, and they most likely will be able to send it to you within a few days. So don't fall for the scams. That's a big one.
That is a big one. Yeah.
So maybe we can try to chime in now into more like detailed of all the title charges and what they are, what they can be, how they are, attached to that property.
Yeah.
Drill that down a little more.
Yeah. So the title charges, every settlement company, every title insurance company is different.
Yeah.
So you'll see in the did choose section, I think, is it section C, maybe?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Of your closing disclosure, which are the title insurance charges. Basically, the required charges in that section is your lender's title
everything. Sorry.
Right. The required charges in that section is your lender's title insurance charges, as well as the endorsements, as well as the closing protection letter, which is the CPL fee. Yep. And the closing protection letter is a letter that title insurance companies have to issue to your lender prior to settlement. And so those are the three charges that are required by any lender. On top of that, you'll see a lot of companies charge notary fees, settlement fees, deed prep fees. I don't know. What are some other fees that you ladies see a lot of? I don't even know.
I don't remember.
Courier fees.
Courier fees. Wire transfer fees.
Wire transfer fees.
Yeah. There's a lot of fees that title insurance companies charge. Basically just to, in my opinion, just to earn a little bit extra money. those fees are optional for each title insurance company. Those are not required fees, any of those little additional fees.
Yeah.
I don't charge any of those. From time to time, I charge a notary fee. From time to time, I charge a deed prep fee to the seller, not to the buyer. I never charge that to the buyer. But I don't charge any of those fees because they're not necessary, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's why we love Penn Charter. Helping our clients, not just with the whole process, but also a little bit financially, right? So.
Yeah. And that's, I can't justify charging those fees. And so it's just something that I've chosen not to do as a company.
Yeah. And then the title insurance itself, it's something that is set by the state, right?
Yes. So title insurance is state mandated fees. And those cannot change. Those are standard across the board between title insurance companies, because they are state mandated. And how title insurance fees work is it's based on the loan amount. So if it's $100,000, it's a certain amount. If it's $200,000, it's a certain amount, and that does not change. As well as your owner's title insurance, because they're state mandated, it's based on the purchase price of your home.
Gotcha. And it's purchase price, not loan amount, correct?
Lender's title insurance is loan amount. Purchase price is owner's title insurance. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's a good clarification here.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
So that's something that's not negotiable. You can call me and can you remove this fee? And I don't charge them, but
it doesn't go to you, unfortunately. The one is just has to be there.
I'm required to charge these.
Yeah, and I think that's the one that was one part of our myth. It's like, is it required? In that case, yes.
Yes. Yeah, so absolutely.
And it's a predefined value based on purchase price.
Yeah.
Awesome. Kenny, did you have any questions of your own from the lending perspective? And you want to maybe bring it out that maybe your clients, when you're talking to them, have it?
No, I really don't, because the main thing, you kind of answered them. All those other miscellaneous fees are not required. But the title insurance, because we have a lot of people who we get who think they know everything about everything. And, you kind of clarified that the owner's title and the lender's title are required. And that's really the main thing. But no, I don't, on my side, like settlement charges are required, period. So you need them to purchase a house or refinance. That's where, when we refinance, we tend to include the closing costs in with the loan amount. So a lot of people don't think they're paying closing costs, but they are. So, but I spell that out when I do any kind of loan.
We almost have to do the perspective what you expect, especially even writing an offer. I know between Kelly and I, we always, when we're even like preparing an offer, we'll run numbers and make sure that everything is seen from title perspective, from lending perspective. Everything is estimated anyway into that expected closing cost, so that buyer have a full picture of what you expect before even putting the offer in. So just everybody watching, if you ever decide to buy a home, you're not just going like in the dark, not knowing exactly what's going to look like. We are able to estimate it. It's not going to be down to the penny until we're closer to closing day, but we'll give you a pretty close estimated value of closing costs, down payment, so you know what to expect, and even monthly payments before you put that offer in. And that is really part of the strategy too.
Yep.
Now, one thing that we can shine some light to, we still have some time, is about wire fraud. And I know title companies are really targeted because you're the ones, handling all the monies. So
that's a good one,
tell us a little bit about that, and what you do to kind of maybe avoid and counter that issue.
Wire fraud is really, really big because obviously we deal with a lot of money in our escrow account on any given day. And, it can be anywhere from $10 million a day to $500,000. And it all varies depending on the day, how many transactions we have going on. And so I've heard of so many cases of where people will get access to emails. And so they'll know, they'll hack into your email without you even knowing. And they'll get access to how many transactions you have going on that day. They'll figure out your bank account information somehow. And again, I have no idea how this all works.
Yeah, they get creative.
Somehow they do. And then they will remove, money from your account, basically. So it's a big thing with title insurance companies. So we have an unbelievable amount of insurance through whoever our carrier is in regards to this. I have cyber insurance. Yeah. And it's big policies. So basically it guarantees that we'll be reimbursed, and if we have a claim, unfortunately. We also have extra protection on our computers, different levels of security that most people don't necessarily have, because we have to, and again, all of that, a lot of the security stuff is in place. Even down to, I have cameras in my office. I have, camera access on my phone, just in case anybody tries to get into my office. Just different levels of security that most people don't even necessarily think about, because again, we're very vulnerable to cyber crime. And we have high levels of protection through our insurance carriers, because if God forbid anything major would happen, we need to make sure that sellers still end up with their money at the end of the day. And so we would have to be reimbursed, for all of the funds that are withdrawn. And then we would, obviously do a claim, blah, blah, blah. But yeah.
Have you anything like that ever happened to you personally, or no?
There was one case where my partner Sam thought that we were being hacked via email, and so I forget, honestly, he's my IT guy. I forget exactly what he did, but just upped the security a little bit more,
but nothing else happened.
Nothing happened.
That's good.
No, nothing has ever happened. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Since I've been, and as well as the previous owner of this company, nothing ever happened to him either. So we have not.
Whatever you're doing good. Just keep it up.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. And I think from the buyer perspective, and even the seller's perspective too, but especially the buyer, because they're the ones bringing the money into the transaction. They may be choosing the option to wire funds for closing.
Correct.
So I think the biggest thing that we always say is yes, we may have to send you information for the wire instructions via email, but always call us first.
Yes.
The title company, myself, whoever you trust.
That's a big thing, Nini. Yeah, that's a really big thing. And even this morning, I had somebody call me at 8 a.m. and said, "Hey, I'm gonna, be emailing you wire instructions." And I said, "Perfect. Which number do I call to verify these instructions?" And so I personally make sure that we call before we wire any money to any company, whether it's me or my assistant, Nikki. We always call to verify. And then the other thing that I did want to touch on. So my bank actually requires us, before we wire any money out, it's, probably 4 levels of authentication. Like, I would initiate the wire.
Yeah.
And then my bank calls me to verify that I am initiating that wire. And then Nikki is the one that approves my wires. And then the bank calls her to verify that she wants to approve that wire.
Oh, wow.
So with the bank that I use, there's a lot of security there as well, to make sure that any money that's being wired out of my account is quadruple checked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's
and so a hacker couldn't just wire money out of my account. It would be nearly impossible. Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome. And I think that gives some peace of mind for a lot of people out there that don't understand how it works and how the funds are, taken care of and distributed. Because if we didn't clarify this yet, the title company will be the one receiving all the funds throughout the buying process, and also be the one distributing all the funds to the proper, parties after settlement is done. So they they do have this huge responsibility of making sure that the funds are taken care of, sending to the right people, the right amounts.
Yeah.
So the security is definitely huge.
And if they're writing a check, they make it out to the title company,
Yes.
not the lender, not the realtor,
Yeah.
title company.
Yeah, and that's a Pennsylvania thing, because you'd be surprised. Some states do have the buyer, for example, for the earnest money deposit, they will write it directly to the seller, which it's so weird because we definitely don't do that in Pennsylvania. It has to be written out to either the title company or maybe the brokerage itself, but never to the seller or to anybody else. So title company would be the one really managing all the funds for that transaction.
Yeah, and that's something that we send out settlement confirmation notices, and I put at the bottom of every settlement confirmation notice, all checks needed for settlement be made payable to Penn Charter Abstract. Just to once again clarify that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else you guys think you want to add for today?
I don't think so. Not on my end.
Yeah, I don't think, I love when people call me and ask me questions. I want to educate people in regards to title insurance. Yes. And so always feel free to call and ask any questions.
Yeah, Lesley's information is down here right now passing. So feel free to reach out to her if you have any specific questions or if you need her services. So awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, Lesley, thank you so much for joining us today and answering all the questions. It was very, very valuable information. Even I learned a couple things. We've been doing this every day. So whenever we title, it's a very specific part of the process. So I love hearing from you guys and learning even myself more and then sharing with everybody here today. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anytime, ladies.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy your Christmas week and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
See you guys.
All right. See ya.